Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Coolest alive CNA, and we are back here today to introduce you to Joseph Bologne La Chavalier, the Black Mozart. How dare you? I'm the greatest violinist to ever live, the greatest swordsman to ever fight. How dare you compare me to Mozart? Okay, not the Black Mozart. Okay,
That's
very Jesus Christ. Le Chavalier, Joseph Bologne, everybody.
That'd be good too. I swear to God.
Born Christmas Day, 1945, Joseph
Yes, ma'am.
Bologne was born to a plantation owner, slave owner, and his 16-year-old beautiful Sudanese mother,
Oh
Nanon,
my God.
who was the slave owner's wife's slave. But Nanon was apparently supposed to be one of the most beautiful women in the world. And George, I think we can say he kind of had a thing for her because he gave his slave son his surname and took him to school at a very young age to put him in a boarding school in France. At the time, George was just a rich guy. Like, I mean, he had money, but he was no like nobility or anything. But in a few years, after he put Joseph in this school, he became like the assistant to the king. He literally became like the hand of the king. And you know, you Game of Thrones fans know what I mean. He's the king. He was Tyrion. After he gained his notoriety, he was kind of able to put Joseph in an even better school. So he ended up putting him in the school of fencing and horsing. It's called School of Fencing and Horsing. It was like a really big, it was like one of the major schools in France where all the nobility's children went or whatever. I mean, they did a little bit of everything. They did arts. It was like a school of arts and, sophistication. You know what I mean? They called it just fencing and horsing. I actually had to look into that. But after I learned where he learned how to play the violin from, he actually learned during his time, but quietly. At this time, his main thing was fencing, and he was the man. Like, they did not want hands with this dude. Like, he was the man. And he beat everyone. So soon he was known as, like, literally 17, 18 years old. He was already known as, like, the greatest fencer in Europe. Not just France, in all of Europe. So around this time, this grown dude, this asshole named Picard, he all white, of course, because during this time, now again, they're nearing the end of their slave. Slavery is kind of like already coming to an end in France. Even though during this time, America is just being formed, basically. Like, they're still about to start fighting for freedom and everything. But in France, it was kind of coming to an end. But there was still a huge stigmatism. Like, it wasn't like they were just happily integrated into the white European system. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. There have been plenty black, there have been plenty black people who have, been in nobility, all throughout history. You know what I mean? I honestly, I didn't know until I looked into this show. But, after realizing that, again, you're not told that kind of stuff. Because I never heard about this dude. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, this asshole Picard, his whole thing is there's no way in hell this mulatto bastard is going to be able to he can beat a fully white European man. You know what I mean? So he actually reaches out to his dad. He reaches out to George and publicly challenges Joseph to a match. So he comes down to the school and got that ass whooped. He had nothing for him. He ain't had nothing for that man. Joseph beat the hell out of him in front of everybody. So at the time, it was kind of half and half. Well, half the people were kind of again, there's more progressive, and the other half were no, white purist shit. Same bullshit going on today. But as usual, when a black man is given,
Goddamn Illuminati.
black woman, when a black man is given the opportunity to be great, even during these times, he normally excels. You think about him, you think about Robert Smalls, you think about, okay, those are only two shows I've done. So, but those two guys, both guys, given the opportunity, the small opportunity by their white slave daddy, and even though it took that though, it took those white guys, it took them being decent humans to say, okay, I made this child. Even though in Robert Small's situation, they kind of gave him a small job where he was making $1, $2 a day in Charlotte, but it's he was able to make the most of the situation. You know what I mean? So Joseph beats the guy and becomes basically like known as the greatest fencer in all of Europe at this time. Like he goes on to have like 100, 200 matches. Like that's just what he does after he graduates. So he graduates like at the top of his class and is known. He gains the title of Le Chevalier, which is like I want to say knight in France. If I'm wrong, just put it in the comments. Don't be an asshole. Like this is just fun for me, okay? I did the research, but Jesus. What is it?
Actually,
Chevalier, right?
it is
You're a knight?
Le Chevalier Saint George.
Okay, that's what I said. You're a fucking knight. Like,
No.
All right, well, I'm
you
not
are
right
not
with it.
calling me a right. You are correct.
Huh.
But I am Le Chevalier. You must say the whole name.
No.
Le Chevalier Saint George.
Chevalier.
Le Chevalier.
Chevalier.
Nigga,
Nigga, get it right.
Knight. He learns. He after he graduates school, his father dies, and he's shook, and his father actually in the will left Nanon and his mother a whole lot of money because he had money. However, during this time, the French government still did not allow it. There was a thing called the Black Code, I think it was called Code Noir, where it was still a kind of like a Willie Lynch situation.
Yep.
I'd imagine like that they had here in America.
Bullshit.
Where it was like, yeah, we'll give you freedoms, but not really. You know what I mean? So he wasn't able to get the money. So he was kind of like left on his own. Now he's left on his own, but he's already acquired this reputation. Like the women love him. The men respect him. Like he's that guy. You know what I mean? He's more than just, he is the nigga in Paris. You know what I mean? Nigga don't play that shit. Hey man, we cannot. Kanye crazy, man. We can't. No.
Ball so hard.
No, calm down, bro.
Sorry.
Dude, I can't afford that shit.
Oui.
I just got done telling them you can't afford that shit. So what the fuck are you doing?
Are you talking about my papa?
Nigga, right? Fuck.
All right, so
Imbecile.
but that was a good ass joke. That was a good ass joke. He was the nigga in Paris. Stop.
Oui.
Stop.
Yes,
Stop.
yes,
That's
I
enough.
get it.
So during this time, he has to find a way to make a living. So one day, literally one day, like I looked into it in different places. I looked at some different videos. It literally almost boiled down to no one actually knew that he had learned the violin, that he was even a violinist. And one day he's like playing for the opera, like for the symphony. I mean, at the symphony, and in France, like this is a big thing, and he's quickly becomes like the lead guy. Like he's the greatest violinist they've ever seen, and like And I looked into some things about it, and they were explaining like how he was explaining how it's the hand movement from fencing that literally helped him master the violin. Like I'm gonna play some like listen to the highs and lows in this. Like it's so difficult apparently for you to reach these. It takes a lot of hand speed and him mastering the sword, because fencing has a lot of the same techniques, I'd imagine. So he literally transferred that into playing the violin, and his love of both pretty much helped him master both crafts. So after a while, he is literally like the guy. Like they're looking for him wherever he's performing. You know what I mean? Like he had composers write whole scores dedicated to him during this time. This 20-year-old black kid in France in 1780s. You know what I mean? He quickly like gains the respect of like everyone as far as what he does. But when the job comes available for the French symphony, they don't give it to him. Like he's the man for it. Like he's written at this point in time, he's written comedies, he's boxed, what else you do?
I have bedded the most beautiful woman of
See
France.
what I'm talking
I've
about?
directed
See?
the France Symphony.
Like this motherfucker's
Performed
talented,
solos,
you know
composed
what I mean?
20 pieces of music. What have you
You're
done,
an
you
asshole, but he
pathetic
talented.
microphone-wielding coward? You will never be the man that Joseph Bologne has become.
Like the dude is the guy. So he's the man for this job. But 3 Karen ass bitches from the symphony, they don't want to take orders from this black guy, because at this time he was gonna become like the head director of the symphony, because no one else can do the fucking job. This symphony's failing, like on his ass. Like no one's going unless he's there, pretty much. You know what I mean? So at the time, this is Mary Antoinette, I think Louis the VIII, whatever. Like all these people, like everybody. If you know anything about the French Revolution, which I did not, never really cared until literally this shit right here. You know what I mean? Like I could have never told you anything about this point in time in France. Like I knew of Napoleon, quote unquote, but this, That's it. You know what I mean? But during this time, like the dude kicked it with everybody. Like so, these 3 Karen bitches sent the letter to to Mary Antoinette and told them petition to not have him get the job because he was a mulatto. You know what I mean? Like they love throwing that word around. Like they got Picard. That's what he called him when he had tried to fight his dad. When he sent the offer to his dad, like he called him a fucking mulatto. Like they sent this letter to Mary Antoinette. Mary Antoinette was like, oh, okay, cool. So they pulled the opera from the symphony and pretty much just like, okay, well, y'all figure this shit out. She pulled everything to Versailles where like they were at. And she held like a small contingent there where she played music with like her closest friends, and like Joseph was there, maybe Mozart, like some of the closest, the best and the closest like composers, violinists, whatever. Like she used to play the piano with him while he played violin. Same with Mozart. This is why he don't like being called a black Mozart. You know what I mean? So apparently him and Mozart were really close. So during this time, his music, again, the way he played the piano, I believe it elevated the way Mozart, because again, Mozart was already a great composer, you know what I mean? But when you're around other great musicians or other great talent, it heightens your music, you know what I mean? Because he made 3 of his greatest, like I'm not gonna look for, but he made 3 of his greatest works of art literally during this time when he stayed with La Chavalier, you know what I mean? So yeah, take it for what it's worth, but those are facts, you know what I mean? So this is why they call him the Black Mozart, when in reality, correct.
Respectful.
Exactly. He's the white Joseph Bologne, you know what I mean? So during this time, he also started hanging with a lot of the revolutionaries, like Louis Philippe. He was like one of the leaders of the revolution. Like he's known to this day to have, like, they believe he funded basically the whole revolution. Like he was paying the broke people, the poor people to like do things, to just start like rebellions and stuff. Cause you know what I mean? Like the monarchy was just, after America is fighting for their freedom, and it's that whole monarchy shit was dying. You know what I mean? He was right there. He's literally right there. He became like his right hand man. Like he would take him with him to England to like play for the King of George, or King, what the fuck his name is, and so trying to get his help with the revolution. And again, like now at the time, keep in mind, Joseph was cool with the monarchy. Like Joseph was good. Like he was making money. He had popularity. He had everything you would want a man to want. But he also knew that he was a black man in this white world. And it's almost like that part of the story more than anything made me a fan of him, because he was good. Like he didn't have to deal with any of the shit that he ended up dealing with. He did not have to fight. Like he didn't have to do any of that, but he did it because he knew that that's what was right. That's what he was here for. He was given these tools, these opportunities, and that's what he did with it. You know what I mean? So he helped spark the revolution with Louis Philippe. Now he ended up literally starting his own fully black battalion, the first one in all of Europe. Like he had a black battalion. He was all black army led by him, you know what I mean? And they were winning. Like they fought like the Austria some shit. Like they was, I don't know, but like he was the guy, you know what I mean? And now one day after winning a fucking battle, they're marching and the French police literally show up and lock him up. They ask him, he asks, "Why are you locking me up?" They tell him, "We don't know." He was like, "What do you mean we don't know? Like they have no charges." Like, no. So this is the time where like they were locking up anyone that they felt was like a monarchy sympathizer. Now keep in mind, he has helped spark this revolution. He is out here fighting a war, leading warriors in this revolution. But because he did used to hang with the king and the queen, he's now being locked up in charge with what they call it, the law of some shit. I don't know.
It's called the law of
that
suspects.
shit. So like during this time, this is when Marie Antoinette got her head chopped off. Louis Philippe, the guy known to have funded the whole fucking thing, got killed. He got his head chopped off. They were gonna chop off Joseph's head, but luckily, like the people kind of came to, like, people got tired of this shit, and like it's one of those things that happen in revolutions where it's like it's always like in Russia, they always revolting. We're gonna overthrow this, and then like they get in and start doing the same fucked up shit. So basically, like the people got tired of it. So like they disbanded the what was
law
it?
Of
Yeah, that shit. They disbanded that. So they stopped that. Joseph was released. Now, when he was released, they had completely obliterated slavery in France at this time. So he was actually released, and you know what I mean, like this was one of his better known pictures. And you know, after this, I think he was like 40 something after this. So, you know, you got the sword, he got the music back there. You know what I mean? That dude got a violin. Yeah, you that man. The dude is the man. So like in 1799, Joseph died, and in Guadalupe, he went back to his home island. And I would like to think, you know, he went back, loved his mom, found him a beautiful woman, and settled down and just enjoyed life, man. Life as a hero, a real hero. And through time, they've tried to destroy a lot of his works, like the things that he wrote. And some people have stolen some of his works. And again, even the Black Mozart thing, it really is a very disrespectful name, because he has no business being the second of any fucking thing. Like, he's his own thing completely. Like, Mozart did not help him. Mozart did nothing for him. Like, if anything, Mozart gained from him. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's Joseph Le Chavalier. Yes, sir. That's the man right there. Peace.